Hello everyone, and welcome to the next part in our adventure. We're going to be thinking about getting our background prepped and ready to go. As you can see, I have my black fabric on my board. My board is slightly elevated in the back, and actually it's sitting on a coffee cup in the back, so that's how much it's elevated. My fabrics are laying on my left. I haven't got them all bonded yet, but that's the next step. And then I set up my tools on the right. And I can't find the little stand for my tacking iron, so we're using a clothespin. And I have a what is called a applique sheet out underneath it. That is a heat resistant sheet also, but it's not really there for heat resistance because I have the pressing pad under that. But it's there in case I want to bond something together quickly off, not on my actual piece, but to the side and get it ready before I actually bond it to the piece. We'll talk about that in later videos, and I'll show you how I build elements off the actual background before I add them to the artwork. So we'll talk about that later. Now you can see that my piece of background fabric literally covers my whole board. In fact, it hangs over a little, top and bottom. And if you're interested in what size I'm working in, this is what I'm working on. My fabric is 22 inches wide by 20 inches tall. Now, inside the, my inside measurements, that's inside this mark, inside this area. That's my actual working area. That's where I'm going to be building this artwork. That is 17 inches wide and 14 inches tall. Then outside of that, I've added a 1-inch border all around that's marked off. And I will be building some kind of fabric border on that area there, okay? Then that leaves me about 1.5 inches all the way around, which is extra playroom should I want to extend my border a little bit, or it gives me plenty of room when I take it to get it framed that they have no problem working with this and getting a mat cut for it and so forth and so on. And I do frame my work after I put as much time and effort into it. I do frame my work, and so that's just, you know, something that's a personal choice or not. But you can see that my working area is marked off. My border area is marked off. And the fabric is plenty big enough. It fits my board but doesn't overfit it. So that, in other words, half of my working area isn't hanging off of my work area. That's not a good idea because you want to keep your whole perspective in view when you're working, okay? And so you want to be able to see your whole piece of art at one time. Okay, all right, let me put this camera where I need it, and we'll talk a little bit more about this. Right now, what I have done is take my chalk pencil right here, my dressmaker's pencil, and I have drawn me a very simple outline sketch of what I think I want to do with this, how I think I want to place my pieces. And I'll usually sketch this out, think about it a while, and then decide whether it's what I want, because once you bond these pieces down, you can't pick them up again. But I'm pretty satisfied with this. I'm going to work with those 3 main elements and build around it. Now, I can't get everything in my camera frame at one time, so let me pull this down so you can see the top part also, what I'm doing up there. Basically, I have a flower and some large leaves sketched, okay? And the top part up there. Then down here, I have a flower, some leaves sketched to the bottom and a flower over here. Now all this area in here, there will be other flowers, but they'll be small. I will be building in a flower bouquet situation in here. Okay. Everything on the outside of this flower and leaves is background. And I'm hoping that you can see my little, let me bring you down for a minute. My little pluses, minus, plus, minus, minus. All right, this is my code for me. Plus, plus is very dark. Minus, plus is medium dark. Minus, minus is medium light. A large minus, just one stroke, is light. That just cues me in to what I think I want. Now, what this tells me in advance is where my light source is. And what I'm talking about is, where is the light coming from on this piece? If it were a real flower arrangement sitting on a table, anywhere, it would have a primary light source. It might be sitting in front of a window and that light source is coming in through the window. It might be lit with a lamp and light source is coming more down and slanted from one side. It might be coming from a light overhead. And all of this changes, all this light source changes where you put your shadows and your highlights. I have my light source. As you can see, the one stroke minus thing over here is in my right side. And I have that all the way down this right side. Minus, minus, minus on this edge over here. So this edge tells me that my light source is coming in from the right. It's going to hit here first. That's the lightest part. The lightest part on this whole thing will be on this edge here. But what that also tells me is that my light source coming in from the right, when I place elements, I need to highlight them in a way that shows where the light source is coming from. For instance, I have this flower. Now, how am I going to show that I'm staying true to where my light source is? My light source is coming in from the right. That means I'm going to highlight the right part. I'm not going to set this flower up straight because that would say that the light was coming in from the left side. I'm going to turn this flower as if it's sitting that way, and that shows that the light is coming in from the right side, okay? Now with my two red flowers, this one is the one most highlighted, okay? And if I need to add more white to highlight it more, I will know that as I get into the piece and the colors start playing together. Then is when you start judging all these last minute details. We want this one to catch some light, but not a lot. I can darken this one down a little bit later. But between the two right now, this is the one catching most of the light. Look at the white. Look at the colors in here. So we'll put this one in the middle, closest to the light, and turn it just a little like it's catching the light. And we'll take this one and we'll do the same with it. It's going to catch some light over there. Now I can tell you already that I know that I'm going to darken this one down some, okay? But I don't have to do it right now, all right? I can still wait because it may turn out that I decide as I'm going along that I'm going to carry this light through here some way. I don't know. That's all intuitive. Those are decisions you make as you go, as you see how things are turning out, as you play with color and light and shadow, and you think, oh my, I need more light here. So let's say the light is coming in from the right. But what if we have a strong streak that's coming in from the right, but not only the right, but the top, and it's catching here really bright, and it goes through like a streak and catches one area here, okay? Then right through here, we would, when we start placing our colors or our flowers or our leaf parts or whatever we're building, whatever you're working on, if you were in this scenario, if you're following me, then you would have to add some really light pieces to carry the light down to here, okay? Think about your light source and work accordingly. You can go outside in nature and you can tell by looking at the trees where the light source is. You can tell which side of the tree is being lit up, what side is lighter and catching light better. You can tell where the light is, whether it's on your right, your left, or above your head. If things are evenly lit, then and they're casting short shadows straight down, that's an overhead lighting. Lighting from the left to the right will cast shadows in the opposite direction, and they will light one side of the object brighter than the other. In this one, I'm going to have, I think, not only my right light source, but coming from the top as well on the right. So I'm hoping to streak some light through here and across. And this side will be much darker. Middle will be more medium, and this side will be lighter. Now, these are things, like I said, that can change as I'm working. Because once you start with your fabrics and start putting them in, things change constantly. But your main light source won't change. Your main focal points won't change, in the sense that they are where they are, and you're going to have to play with that light to make that make sense. Okay? All right. Now, I think I want my leaves to be pretty dark. Not sure quite how I'm going to do that yet, but I haven't got my greens together yet, or got them fused with a fusible bond, so I'm not ready to play with those yet. Now these flowers are going to be fussy cut. The fabric that's on them isn't going to stay. Okay, I will be working my other fabrics right up to those flowers. But that gives you a sense of, decide what kind of layout you might want. And if you don't have any clue on your own, maybe go to a site like any site that has a lot of photos on it. Maybe paintings, floral paintings, or if you're doing a floral. And look at it and just see what you got. If you want, how many focal point elements you want. Say you want to do a floral, but you want 2 focal points, or you want 4, or you want 5. Find a flower arrangement that kind of fits you and see how it's arranged and where the light and dark is in that arrangement. And you might can just sketch that and use that simply, okay? If you have a good imagination and you can sketch a little bit, as you can see, I can only sketch a little bit, then do that. Work you out a system for very light, medium dark, very dark, and kind of code your piece around so that you don't forget where your light source is coming from. Once you get a few pieces down, for instance, if I start working on this flower and then to the right of it, once I get a lot of light in this area, I can't forget where my light source is, okay? But before you get that down, that coding is good, all right? Because you never know where you're going to start, It's just whatever you feel. Remember, art is intuitive. Art is, it comes from the inside out. You can't explain it. You can't graph it out. You can't totally plan it out. It happens in the moment. Art to me happens in the moment. When I get ready to put a piece down, it either looks good or doesn't. When I start playing with light, it's then I decide on the color of light that I want and the pieces that I want to play with over here. It just is very intuitive and in the moment. Don't stress by saying, I've got to get all this planned out. I got to get all this planned out. No, you don't. The things that you want to plan are the things I'm telling you. Get your background fabric ready. Get it graphed off for your work area, the size you want. Choose your focal points, whatever you want to work with. Sketch some kind of something that makes sense for that focal point. For instance, you may do a landscape. You may do a house. Well, then sketch a simple landscape lines. A tree maybe, the sun maybe, whatever. Something that gives you an idea. Then decide where your light source is coming from. If you're doing a house and a landscape and your sun is over here, then everything gets lit from the left top down this way. It gets lit so it makes sense. Not that it doesn't cast light, in other words, but your strongest light, your highlight areas, you might say. This whole flower is lit. I mean, it's well lit. It's got light on everything. Shadows have light. But the highlight areas, these bright white areas, tell you where the light's coming from. Right through there. Okay? And it's catching those. All right? It's lighting the whole flower, but the strongest light is where the light source is coming from. So that's what I'm talking about. Whatever you decide to make your focal point, these simple things. Get your work area ready. Get your border marked out. Get your simple sketch of what you think you want to do. And then, place out your focal point because you're going to work around your focal point. All right. Okay, well, next time I will be bonding these down and beginning. So, are you excited? I'm shaking. I'm so excited. I just hope I can do this really well for you guys. Since it is in the moment and it's intuitive, I never know where this thing is going until I get there. Thankfully, most of the time, they do very well. I know some basics, and I try to follow the basics that are important in what I'm doing. But as I go, it's strictly in the moment. Remember that, in the moment. If I say I'm going to do one thing and then I change and do another, then realize that I'm working in the moment. I'm making those decisions intuitively as what I see and feel that the piece needs at the time. So don't let me confuse you. Just take what you can from me and apply it to what you're working on. Okay? All right. Till next time, we're going to stay very scrap art hats happy, aren't we? Yes, we are. Bye-bye.